Hello, and welcome to this channel. This is my first YouTube channel, and I've developed this for a specific reason. I'll tell you what those reasons are later, but the main purpose of this video is to distribute alternatives to ideas for creating ideas, or how to maintain an idea when you're losing it. The main purpose of why I decided to make this channel is because I saw certain things within movies, certain things within art, and certain things within subject matters that I see within art, and certain things within books, and certain things in stories, and certain things within society that I realized that certain artists have lost, certain artists have forgotten, certain things from the old-fashioned days that were maintained and were distributed to society has been drowned out by e-commerce type design behavior to maintain certain things that are more logical to the society that we're living in now. That makes sense to a digital point and to a graphic design point. Everyone wants something and they need something to be distributed as fast as possible to get their point across because they're trying to make a sales, they're trying to develop their organization, they're trying to state something and it make it look visually wonderful and powerful. But at the same time, when they're making something visually wonderful and powerful, it doesn't seem wonderful and powerful. It catches the eye of the viewer because the human eye based things on color, and the human mind based things on is that rational towards what I'm interested in. Your eyes were drawn directly towards that thing because the human eye registered the different color pigments by their primaries. So the first thing there was a red, white, blue, um, red, yellow, blue, and then they go so on and so forth with additional other colors. So you have certain things placed here, certain things placed there, this thing's placed here, this thing is placed there. What's the most powerful thing that you could think of with regards to your to colors? That's what the mind is saying. You're just going about your daily activities. You're walking to work or you're shopping, but then this thing come out of nowhere. This color comes out of nowhere, and that color comes out of nowhere. And they're in stores or in their books or in their movies, and they're visually stunning to the eyes and eye catching and eye appealing. But when you go to look into what you're looking at, or you try to find out what it is that within that product, you find that it's thin, it's empty, it doesn't have good saturation. The product of what you're looking for, of what you're trying to find, something that's a soul that's important to you that you could keep, that you could remember. And at this point in time, I saw this, and this has helped me through my trying times to get to this, to this, to this, and to this. And this has been my light here when I got here, and I found additional lights here to get me to here. And I've taken this original light and I melded it with this other light, and I've combined it with this other light, and they slowly build up, and your saturation slowly builds up over time within your mind for your specific art. Because you have to understand art is like a thing that is compressed within your head and is saturated, and it remembers these things, but slowly in time, due to additional duties you're doing, due to a job, due to other activities, due to sales, due to money, they slowly get thinned out, toned out. Like regular tone, it goes from light dark, and they're slowly getting toned out. So the less saturation you have, the less memory will retain for that specific art. So you want to keep that solid, and you want to keep that specific thing important to you that you remember at all times. And in order to do that, you'll want alternatives to keep that maintained, and that is what this channel is for. Is to give you ideas for creating ideas. And if you don't want to create an idea, is to maintain that idea, to maintain that saturation, so that it stays there forever in your head. Like there's specific art that Jim Henson has done. There's specific art that James Cameron have done. There's specific art that Geiger has done. The specific art that Rembrandt, specific art that Jim Lee has done. I still remember the Jim Lee cover from way back then. And that's what this channel is for mainly. Now, I'm not going to get off point. I'm going to introduce who I am. I already possibly introduce who I am through my behavior with regards to this, because that's what I love. So you could automatically sense it through what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to do. So I'll just give you the basic standards. One, I came to this country many years ago. I automatically saw what this country was about. I could realize how to survive within this country. Yes, there's a balance between light and dark, and you have to find your gray area. But the gray area is not the motivational area. The gray area is the maintenance survival area. Aggression towards developing something that's meaningful lies within ambition, and that is not within the gray area. Salespeople tell you stay within those who are motivated, who will get you forward, who will move you forward. That's not gray. Gray is not ambition. Gray is not moving forward. Gray is staying still. But at the same time, you're gradually developing things to meet an end. You go to college, you have kids, you have home. Gray is more blue collar, and that's more power to them. But it's not what you want. Your creativity doesn't have a gray. Creativity is around the gray, around the dark and the light. It's outside of the box, as far as outside of the box go, but not so far that you will get lost. That's what creativity is. It doesn't have a bounding box whatsoever at all. And with regards to me coming to this country a long time ago, I've done design for like more than 10 years, more than 20 years, but it's been off and on. It's been something that's not been consistent because I've been accumulating art from various different forms because I couldn't define what my specific art was. I only defined it for about a year ago or 2 years ago, and I've mostly developed 2D, two-dimensional art, and that's my thing. That's my karma. I'm an illustration designer. That I'm proud to say that I'm an illustration designer. I cannot create mesh. I mean, I can create mesh. I could create flash videos, which is web design. I could create other forms of art if I wanted to. I put my mind to, but my mind is mostly on using my hands to create what I need to create, using either a digital a comb, a pen, or I use just my plain hands. I'm more a traditional artist, and I emulate most of that stuff within Photoshop, and then I develop it. But that's that for that. From that point on to now, I've decided, based upon everything I've seen for the past 30 years, someone has to say something about it. Someone always has to say something about something, but no one has actually done an alternative to an alternative for giving ideas. I'm not sure if I'm the first person that have done this, but definitely going to do it now because I, I, I can do certain art, but it's not better than other people's art. But what other people do and what other people say and what other people distribute to society through their art, through their movies, that doesn't make you feel anything. You're like, what's missing? What has been missing? And that's what I'm here for, to tell you what has been missing. I'm not going to say this is the specific thing to be missed or that was missed. This is a specific thing that you might have missed because you did not mesh and mold certain things constructively that the audience sees. You only mesh and mold things that the designer sees, that the director sees, that the photographer sees. You're not looking from the outside in, you're looking from the inside out. And yes, a lot of people look from the outside, trying to emulate themselves from the outside in. But once you are deeply within your art, deeply within your form, and you're very educated and you're very powerful in what you do, and you're trying to do something specific, and you're trying to remember yourself before you got into it from the audience perspective, is very hard because the audience does not know anything about art, or they don't care, or they want something pretty, they want something awesome, but not just something pretty, something awesome, something to entertain. Most of everyone in the world wants something that's soulful. That's the most important factor. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I want to give the audience what they want. I want to get what I want. But are you giving the audience something soulful? Are you giving the audience something important that they'll remember forever? They don't do that. Not a lot of people do that. And a lot of artists say they don't have time. Not true. You can do it, and I'll show you how you could do it. But this is not a how-to. This is an idea. I like to say how-to, but it's not a how-to. This is not that type of thing. This is something different. This is not an alternative for maintaining something or an alternative for doing something. So with that said, let's move forward. The first thing that you will want to know with regards to this is reference. Reference is very important. Reference is not like, okay, I go to the library, I read this reference, I wrote it down within my computer, or I wrote it down on a piece of paper. Um, and that's reference for you remembering certain things. I'm talking about references in a physical representation of what you've written down in front of you. Put the reference of what you've written down in front of you, right in front of you, like a box here, a box there, and a box here, and one right in the middle. And this line will represent your story from beginning to end, or from at least from a 25% point of view, from this start to this end for that specific purpose. And you'll say, okay, well, what do you mean by this? I'm talking about, okay, you have writer's block, you have creative block, and you cannot think about, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Record exactly what you just said, what I've just said, and stop at a certain point and do not continue forward. And then write down everything I've just said, or write down everything you've just said, and with representation to these boxes, fill in those boxes with what you've just said. Um, Physically, like draw something that represents what you've just said. The most powerful word goes here, or in the center, or here, where you shift it around for it to belong, so it could develop that story. So, okay, all right, well, that's a unique idea. I was like, but that's not giving me what I want. I'm still having this block. I still need to create this specific thing for this client. I need this now. I need something powerful. It's not working. What I could say is that you could shift them around from one position to the next, or you could put them back in their place from one position to the next, or you could decide, okay, if that's not working, why don't I fill it with something else? Why don't I fill it with a color? You don't have to use images. You could use colors to represent those things. And then once those colors are in there and they represent those things, you could mold those colors together like you're doing a painting, and then slowly, gradually tone them out towards each other to meld out whatever you're trying to say. And once you get that specific color viscosity, or that color tone, and that value that you want, I say, oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. This color is mixing with this. It's giving me this value. You then remove that color and place back in the image and say, okay, how does this combination of this color and this image giving me that value? Which of these pictures put together will give me that value? And then that will give you a sort of a story, or a sort of a direction you need to go to with regards to what you're trying to create. And that's one way of doing a reference, a physical representation of what you've written down into uh, um, into an art, or into a color to represent it. Oh, I'm going upstairs to get a banana, and I'm going to eat that banana because I feel like eating a banana. Right now, I'm going upstairs to get a banana because I feel like eating a banana because I need a banana. And then write down or draw down exactly a physical representation of what you've just said on a piece of paper, and then put them by where they're most dominant in words at those places. And if you cannot use words, replace those if you cannot use image, replace those images with colors, and then fuse those colors together and value them, or tone them out till you get the value you want. Um, that's one way, and that's just reference itself. Now,